Hello everybody and welcome to another practicing session here at the clavichord, as we are doing every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Brussels time. That's a pre-recorded session released as a premiere on YouTube, which enables the community features like the chat. You can hang out in the chat then with me. If I have time, I will be there in the chat as well. On Monday we have live sessions at the piano, I should say, as we speak at the Frenzel. The Fritz will come in a while. Those sessions mostly are live, so also 7:30 p.m. Many of these sessions are now in the framework, so to say, of the Beethoven project. That's a project that will start at the end of this year, in which I'm going to record all solo works, 60 works of Beethoven in over the course of 3 years in 22 CDs. So sharing with you my journey on the way to that project, which will be a fascinating project to do with 3 instruments: the 2 pianofortes, the Fritz is over here, then the Frenzel over there, 2 types of pianofortes, Viennese pianofortes, and then of course my trusted clavichord. So the plan is to have works from before 1800, certainly the variations on the clavichord, and then perhaps also some sonatinas, which Beethoven, for instance, the Opus 49, which I released one of the sonatas of the first one of Opus 49 a few weeks ago on the channel. Beethoven kind of never intended to have these called sonatas, so these were sonatinas also for Czerny. So those might go on the clavichord as well. So the clavichord, an instrument that in Beethoven's time still was very present, more than we realize, and also Beethoven, even at the end of his life, still had a clavichord, which shouldn't surprise us at all. So having said that, we were working last 2 weeks intensively on some fingerings of the Righini variations. So that's work on opus number, so without an opus number 65. It's composed around 1790. This was Beethoven's showpiece when he came to Vienna, as Czerny describes. And we have actually seen in previous practicing sessions that indeed, if you regard the variations of making fingerings from the classical 18th century, that's of course not something you can really point your finger on and say that's how people in the 18th century made the fingerings. But anyway, kind of historical, quote-unquote, fingerings, that Beethoven does things here that really are remarkable. So totally unexpectedly, I run into some issues, normal issues that we had to solve and we had to reflect upon, and it was really interesting. Certainly the previous session was quite intense, 3 variations in 1 hour with the clavichord. That also was a little bit out of tune, not to say a lot out of tune. I haven't tuned, by the way, so the clavichord is what it is, and the weather is still very cold outside, or it's switched to being very cold. It was very warm a few weeks ago. But anyway, what I plan to do in this practicing session is really run through all the variations, which is probably not possible, but we'll see how long it takes. I have some time on my own, which is great now. Anya is not here, which of course I always like when she's here. So Anya, if you're listening, that's totally fine. I mean, I love when you're here, but now you're not. So the house is mine, the kids are in school. We have only our little puppy of 10 weeks, our dog. I can see him, no I can't see him. I hope he behaves during this session, and if not, I will have to let him go with him outside for a while. So that's no problem. But other than that, this is our time now, and I can only, these kind of settings, I visualize myself. When I think on the studio, I see myself sitting there, door locked, just me, the instruments, you, if we are doing things live or recording things, and so not having a time limit, because that's sometimes really hard in making productions, and it's one of the main reasons that we would need the studio actually. So a dedicated room where I can lock the door, and actually there is no interference from outside or from inside here, the house. You have to realize I'm making all these videos here in our living room. So oftentimes, and then the offices, so Anya's office and mine is upstairs, so we have an open space here. And so it's all these sessions, all these recording sessions, all these videos are made in between something else, and sometimes causes a little bit of stress because the preparation is not going as technically as we had hoped, and so on and so on. Or there is an airplane going over, or there's a telephone call that I have to pick up, or something like that. So this time frame that we have then for these recording sessions of these videos that I produce is getting narrower and narrower, and you come to a moment where you say it's virtually not impossible. Everything is possible if you just want to do it, but you know what I mean. Sometimes a little bit, don't know the word in English, but you know what I mean. And now we don't have that. There's only one limit of time. Juris is coming, I think, in the late morning. So we are now 9 o'clock, 9:15. It's Wednesday, so a day before this is premiered, but that's still, I will not be here in the next 2 hours. So all time is ours. Okay, so I'm gonna rush through these variations and see how far we come, and hopefully finish this. This will be the last practicing session with making fingerings, because 3 in a row it's enough, I think. And after that we're going to practice these variations. That will be challenging also, because 24 variations. It's really a big piece actually. It will take about 25 minutes in performance. And yeah, we'll see what we do with that. Okay, there we go. Just starting with variation number 10. Let's see what we make of that. It's kind of disorientating having played the piano uniquely this week. Of course, the pianos have an octave more than the clavichord. So it's weird that I'm sitting at the clavichord and I have to orientate a little bit. Some sight reading now, eh? And at the same time thinking, okay, this is cool. So Beethoven. Great. So you have here B flat and D. There's no way on the clavichord you can take that in one hand position, so you'll have to work with your wrist here. Technically this will not be legato, but it's not a problem, because you suggest a legato. See what the thing. That's normal, 5-1. Okay, that was the one note I needed to tune before the session started. That's the one string, the only string that has been replaced on the clavichord. There's a tuning pin that broke when the lid came down, when Evelyn was going up the stairs. She couldn't help it, it was not her fault, but string replacement on an instrument is problematic. It will never ever fit really into the instrument anymore. Technically it's not possible that it doesn't, but it is like that. Okay, he's exploring some new techniques here. Going over the octave. So suggesting this bow of legato. So he indicates a bow, he gives a bow which makes the note of course tied to each other, the legato, and then with the dot, which is a double, because the end of the bow needs to be kind of staccato. But Beethoven wants to have a very short probably. So F sharp 5 or 4. I think even 4 will work better. We will see. So that's, how do you say that in English? We say that it's a 12th, a decime. So 10 notes. This is not normal. I mean, for that time it's 1790. Left hand gives room on the right hand. Are we going to use substitutions? No, we're not. C sharp, this is a little bit difficult because I don't like this hand position. See the hand positions like that, it's weird. But of course it's because of the D here. And before you think that this D, which is tied all the way through, is a tempo indicator because it needs to sound, it's not. It would not even be a problem to repeat at every bar. Maybe even with arpeggios. So that you can do even in Bach's music. That's very, very classical. So long notes, you just repeat them. I even wonder how, well, that's another topic in orchestral music, how that's done, was done. Because I could imagine here, if I could just make one arpeggio, that would make my life easier. Now you might think, now he's standing still again with some easy passage, but I want to have it clear. I want to make the best possible fingering. Here it is difficult. 1, 3. Because you do it once. 1, 2, 1, 2. Just cover 1, 2 to 1, 2. 3 is possible on the F sharp. Yeah, if you have big hands and a small keyboard, like it's Saxon keyboards, the same dimension, by the way, as the pianoforte is. It's great. It's 160, I think, for the octave. And then just repeat here the G. So, and then here it's second finger. Yeah, I can understand why, of course. Yeah, okay. So you have these runs, these notes, this line, so to say. It's a kind of melody, it's a counter melody against the right hand. And of course we want to have that kind of legato, very cantabile anyway. So but the trap is, I would have 2 here on top. To play it, to want to play it so legato that you actually are going to, that's difficult. Let's stick to the second finger. But you want to have it so legato that you are going to do kind of tricky things, which messes up your hand position. And certainly in the clavichord, this will result in a bad sound. So making the fingering actually in relationship to the accentuation pattern. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Here you have a little gap, it's no problem. And on the clavichord there's no sustaining pedal that can help. Okay, let's see what we come up with. Okay, piano. Yeah, so you'll have to take the risk of jumping here. Now here, these big jumps, you might say, well, just learn it by heart and look on your keyboard. But that's something, I will come with some videos on that. I have to prepare it very well because it has been a really long time since I have, well, started is a big word, but you just read about it. People, I'm so convinced in that time, didn't look on their hands. It was just something for amateurs to do. And even then, so with these kind of jumps, I don't think they looked on the keyboard. They just had always their eyes on the score. And you might say, well, yeah, about many things people say today, well, yeah, they didn't mean it like that, they were not, yeah, they were very serious about it. You read in several sources about this, and if you know that, or if you assume that this was a general practice, you even see things that in letters that otherwise would certainly just escape your attention. So I'm not looking on my fingers here. It's difficult for me though, because of course I'm trained to do that as everybody else. So it's tricky. So I have to feel not not saying on a concert I wouldn't want. I mean, if you would train a child like that and that would grow up with this attitude of not looking at the keyboard, would be no problem. Someone who's blind can do it as well. So it's just something you have to develop internally. But at 47, it's too late. I tried a bit when I played Chopin at the time to do that. It's really, really hard. Too much emphasis on the left hand. It's difficult. You will not succeed in playing this today. Very relaxed now. Difficult, but it's okay. Okay, where's my metronome? Oh, it's over here. Just want to check. Not that I'm addicted to tempo checking, but if you practice, it is handy, well, that you know in what end tempo you have to play. That's not too fast. So that's for the fourth note, right? Okay. That makes sense. Again. So I was a little bit too fast. It might sound a little bit slow, but there is something here now you can work with. It's only 8 notes, here are 16 notes, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this fit into the previous variations. So not going into detail here in performance, things on performance practice. I have to work on that. We'll do that next sessions. First fingering here. Let's just try the beginning to have this tempo. These are difficult variations actually. Also here, just octaves in the left hand. On this, in this region, don't expect that. Three on the. I wouldn't do that. I think start with 4-2 here. And then 5-3 and either 5-4 or 5-3. That's something up to you, or to me. The advantage of 5/4 is here if your hand stays more in the normal position. 5/3, you see it on that camera. It's more out of balance, but it's easier to take the note. Here your fifth finger has been moved. I think I'll go for the 5/4. It just looks nice. And then so 5/5. Don't be afraid of that. Perfectly normal. Left hand. The hand in position as long as you can, not opening that. You cannot escape from doing that, but if it's not necessary. So here I could take a fourth finger, but then again my hand is like this. When I just go up to 5, my hand can stay like that. It's better. So here. Certainly here 5/4 on the top. Yeah, of course 5/5, no escape from that. Then appoggiatura. So 5/4, and then I think here 4, yeah, so like that. Here 4/2, and then 3/2. So you make legato and the upper note, and you just release this. It's not possible otherwise. And you don't hear that. 5/1, 3/2. I understand this 3. It's okay. So you have to jump with your hand. 4 is possible as well, but then you have to reach to the D. Like that is okay. If you play variations like these, they're not so difficult. So if you work on them a little bit slower, I mean in a study tempo, whatever, regardless of the tempo you want to play these pieces in, then you might say, well, just play over it. But don't do that. It's like, as I said a lot of times, it's like looking into the engine by just taking it into parts and bits and pieces and putting it back together. These are, certainly like we're doing now, it's my first... and I mean, I've never played this music. I don't know what I'm going to play. I don't know the pieces. I've never seen it. It's my really first impression. So be careful with those moments, because they will never happen again. There's only one time in your life that something happens, so that you can learn this music, or learn to know this music, or that you can hear or play it for the first time. There's only one time in your life that happens. So making fingerings is a great way to slow down this absorption process. also because 5-1, you are not actually already into the music too much, other than very roughly, basically thinking in motives, which is the melody you have, where are the articulation, what kind of articulation, where are the phrasings, things like that, but not yet in developing the true overall bird's angle idea, so to say, of the music. So treasure that. I'm going to take care of the cameras. Okay. Not too fast, I think. This works great, actually. Okay, rest is for practicing. Excuse me, Beethoven, am I missing here something? 2-4. Okay. Okay. Just finger is okay. I would not go with 3. Yeah, okay. He uses 3 and then goes to 2 on the same note. It's not necessary, I think. It's okay. Oh, played too much piano this week. Nice. And then? Shouldn't forget that. 4-2. Also here directly 1. No need for this. It's great to have all these articulation marks by Beethoven. He doesn't do that often. It's not as detailed than later works. This variation is a great tempo indicator. I mean, harmonically happens so much that you won't have the time to absorb all of that. Go to the 1 on the F because I don't want to change fingers while holding this chord. Here, just jump from 1 to 1. Yeah, just do it, no problem, because the D needs repetition anyway. Directly to 5, no need to go to 1 first. Just 5. Finger here. start with second finger here. Nice variation. Okay, number 13, D minor, octaves. Let's start with the left hand here. Okay, not a C sharp. Great. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, 4, 5, yeah. 1, 2. I wouldn't go to 1 here. So 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. Go to 1. See, it makes so much more sense. If you have the first finger on the E, then you have 4, 5 here. I mean, that's awkward. So more. Not a 1 here, but here. So then you have this. Don't need this 3 anymore. As a copy machine. Let's see. Okay, so now we have 2, 4 here. It feels way better like this. And then here. 1, 2, no problem. Just reposition your first finger on the G. Just go first finger on the F. No need for this 1 here. First finger 2, 4, 2, and then 3, 5. Start with 4, no problem. Go to 5, okay. Fourth finger on the F sharp. Shit, this is weird music actually. No. 2, okay, and now with the octaves. Oh, excuse me. Who's going to tune my clavichord for recording this piece? That's actually unbelievable. Oh my god, that is really great. I mean, who expects in 1790 a piece like this? Imagine all those people, rich people, drinking their coffees and teas, and Beethoven is trying out these variations. They must have, you know, I don't know how to say that in English. Oh my god, what's going on there? But no, it doesn't do that. So it's tight. Really unbelievable. So here, just for you to know, I take 4 on the B flat and I go to 4 on the G sharp. I just jump 1, 4, 4, 4, 1, 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 1. And here, fourth finger, 1, and then I take 3. Isn't that great? Great, great. Then back to D major. Okay. Adagio in 3/8. Eighth note, cha, cha, D major. I would always give preference to just a logical order. So 1, 2, not 1, 3, 1, 2, and then just go to 1, 5. So you have to skip the fourth finger, but it's easier than just skip the second finger. Actually, I wouldn't use my thumb here, do nothing here, just play my whole hand till 5, and then go to 4. So yeah, 4. I mean, it makes so much more sense. It's great, it's not too difficult. Adagio, so let's take a very slow half-second pulse here. 3, 3. Something going on here with this Akia light. And then Adagio. Okay. Next variation. We do the music later in other sessions. This will keep us busy for a while, these variations. Every variation here is a new world that you have to create. Then a little bit of a technical exercise. Variation 15. Let's see what fingering he has written here. That works. It's actually Lorentz metronome. See, I was playing in the right tempo. An applause for myself. And right hand. Oops. I hate those runs when they have some inserted chromatism somewhere, unexpected, just to fill up the gap. I needed to have another note here before reaching the D, so a little bit of chromatism. You have to listen. I mean, if you don't know the piece, you have to practice that. There comes a moment where you hear it, and then it's not so difficult anymore. So indicate the fingering. Yeah, I'm messing up here because I expect to go to the one on the G. I think it might work if you just follow the normal fingering here of a scale. So I go to 1 on G. Just play your hand full, F3 and then okay. I know if you read sources at that time, they say don't do that. I'm doing it. Be always aware if you read those sources on fingering, they are extensive. C.P. Bach is 1/3 on fingering only. Hummel, I think, is 50% on fingering, so that's how important it was. But this is not the level they're talking about, that's for sure. Okay, there's another second part coming, but just try this out first. And then, you know, this fingering feels better than, it's just replacing this, how do you call that? Positioning your thumb under your hand, so playing scale. So instead of on A, I'm doing now on G, and that makes a lot of difference. Then. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. 3 here, but then you have to use 5 on the C sharp. I don't do that. So I have to compromise here with 1. That's okay. Same. Second finger. You expect A here. There are these 30-second notes. It's a little bit strange. So, they come also on the right hand. So where are we going to position our thumb here? Maybe just on the normal places of the scale. Here also? Yeah, sure. 4th finger 1. And then from here. That's good. This 4th finger leads to 5-2. That's great. That's okay. And then here's a normal scale, but still I indicate fingering, because if you do it once somewhere, there comes a moment on the concert that you start to doubt even on the D major scale. If you don't write any fingering at all, it happens less. But if you write fingering, suddenly there's no, and you're so focused on something, you never know what happens. Everybody has in the concert these blackout moments. And if I make fingerings, I always think on those possible moments. So let's try. Slow. These 30-second notes were great because as a listener, I don't know how it's with you, but you have the feeling that there is something going wrong with the rhythm, but it falls back in place. Great, Mr. Beethoven. Now, variation number 16. Oh, okay, there. He assumes also the one who makes fingerings here to start, he suggests we're starting with 2-1. Which is not unlogical here because you have to make a big jump. I don't like it on the clavichord, but I'm going to do it. It's possible. If you've never heard this piece, I mean, would you connect that to Beethoven? That's I wouldn't do that, so go to the second finger here. It's possible, it's no problem. C sharp, B on this type of instrument is no problem. But use your wrist. Okay, he ends that. So 5-4 and then he removes his hand. So the one who makes the fingerings here, made the fingerings here. That's not bad actually. The bass is still out of tune. Fourth finger. Fourth finger, fourth finger. Yeah. That's okay, I think. Let's just continue to the next one. I want to finish the fingering of this. So 5-1, 5-1. Tenuto, but you have to repeat the B, so. Second finger, that's okay there. You come here 2-1 and continue perhaps with 6-3-2. Calando e rollentando. So that's strange here at the end because you have just one chord. He wants to kind of lay it down, you know. And you had some descriptions. You read that sometimes that the long notes or the end with the ending notes, last chords, so to say, within well, you say that in English, we call that an organ point. Just leave the sound as long as the instrument sounds. On the clavichord, I definitely would arpeggiate a little bit. Yeah, maybe it's overthinking here. Just just have 3-2 from the first. Okay, 18. I'm going to switch off and on the cameras again. Variation 18. Let's see how this sounds. Wouldn't do that. 4-2, definitely. So here 4-1, and then so don't be afraid to leave on the clavichord. It's possible to go from 4-1 here to 5-2. You won't miss the melody there. On the piano, you might want to use another fingering to really hold these notes as long as possible. That's again this A. So he gets this nice effect here by introducing these eighth notes against the triplets. And this tempo works great. I mean, all these things, little things, are for me kind of tempo indicators. So you have this. You don't expect that. So the right hand starts with the triplets. So you have only the two last eighth notes of that group of three. There's a rest, I suppose, in the beginning. So you don't expect that as a listener, that these octaves will be in eighth notes. Used to 4-2. Just go to 5, and then you can use 4. Again. Okay. Variation 19. Now we're talking. That's 6-8, so we have another tempo. So the question here will be later, are we going to take the tempo of the triplets here, or not? That's something we will figure out later. So I'm not writing fingerings here because normally octaves ending on the upper note is 4-1, and you try to release the octaves as smoothly as possible, so to create a kind of legato feeling. that needs some work, but in terms of fingering, this is not too difficult. Then, second finger, no, we take 2/4 on these thirds. 1/4, so now it's on the E. It's over with my IKEA light, I think. This should make them a little better because they are really perfect, but after a while they start doing this. So let me just take another one. Of course this tripod is in my way. So Mr. Frenzel, I take your light. Sorry. And how I'm going to do this, just now we pray that the cable is long enough. This of course will not be the case. Yeah, it is. Fine, there we have another one. Okay. This has scherzando here, I've seen it now, which is actually cool. And today, of course, when people see scherzando, they say, well, fast. But it's not necessary here. Let's check the tempo. It's actually very funny playing in this tempo. Nothing. I guarantee you, when you play this for an audience, people will be like that. What's happening? Don't be afraid of the silence. There's just a one here. And then I'm often checking the tempo because I'm not stable in what I'm doing now. So I mean stable in the sense of tempo. It needs to develop, but I want to have the tempo clear at every new variation. Certainly if it's not too difficult to play, so that I immediately get a sense of pulse. Here at the beginning, of course, I repeat that. Okay. Okay. A little bit strange, but it works. E5 here. Shall we cross hands or not? here, so take over the right. I don't think it's meant to be cross hand notation. I think we just help the left hand with the right hand here and take this with the right hand. First finger is okay, I wouldn't know why not. Okay, we need to tie that note. Then we take 1, 3. Again, we help the left hand here. So 1, 1, 2, 2 works, but it takes your hand. It's not nice. So we could just go 1, 1, 1, 1. Doesn't matter. Release properly, and it works. Or we take this with the left hand. That's a little bit strange, I would say. You would want. Oh, should have a Google translator in my brain. So typically you want to hand the motive with one hand. It's better for the overview. But here it's a kind of weird notation. 5, 2, it wouldn't do that. So I would take this chord like that, not like that, like this. Let's try the second part. So also here, release that very carefully. Then this shouldn't happen. Okay, variation 22. Great. We're coming near the end, right? No, of course not. Still 5 pages to go, 4 pages to go. Okay, check my tempo first. How does this sound with the right hand? Okay, yeah. Fingering is not too difficult. You cannot escape from doing so. Exceptions are here. Legato. I don't know here. Suppose. We'll keep the 4 here, but it works also great as a kind of fagotto. This unseen in 1790. I mean, if I would have written that in Amsterdam, and the harmonic exercise would be with a red line, but the effect is great. Tempo. double as fast as this. I mean, then Adagio Sostenuto, there is a tempo. That's my tempo. I made that tempo for the to know how many works the 50 would fit on a CD. So 54, yeah, whatever. So here is Adagio Sostenuto. It's great because we had an Adagio Sostenuto in the Moonlight Sonata. And then if you see, this reminds me, okay, this here reminds me to another work by Mozart, I think, but which one? It's very Mozart-like here, this Adagio. I have to think about it. I don't actually see that. Oh, it's too dark to see. Anyway, it's with crossing of the hands, and I hate that. So let's start. We have 64 notes here, even faster. So that those are your tempo indicators, and that's even Leopold Mozart who says that. So don't get trapped at the beginning to play it too fast. So you definitely are counting here in 16th notes. Definitely, that's, I think, seeing. I'm just thinking out loud now. Seeing on the camera, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, same thing here, just follow the normal fingering for scales. The more you can stick to whatever it is in your fingers, the less you have to practice. Just play. We had that passage once. It must have been something that is in Beethoven fingers, so that it just ends like even not knowing. Okay, what tempo are we going to take? So Adagio Andantes start from working a very slow half-second beats, and that often works. Here it's to the extremes, I would say, because you have here very, very dense notation with a lot of fast note values. Here it's open, the beginning is open. So these are those adagios you have, you know, where the beginning sometimes is, well, slower than expected, but that's no problem, because here at the beginning sets the mood actually. Like the beginning of the first Adagio, first sonata of Beethoven, it escapes my... I just recorded it, but I cannot hear it now anymore. Otherwise I would play. I'm not doing it. But also there you have these quarter notes at the beginning. But they're just... The melody goes from one note to another. Okay, what are we doing here? I think that's the kind of maximum that we have now. The beginning is... I'm sight reading now. I mean, right in just in time. Just too late, actually. It kind of works, no? Oh no. 3, of course. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's like that. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, applying tactus inequalis when I count in 16ths. Tam pam 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 cha ta ta tam pam. To work on this. That might be a passage where we have to reconsider going a little bit slower, where you can practice that. And that's just a kind of balance. But this, I will see whenever we are going to practice that. Number 24. So when we end this, it will be a long session. I see it on my cameras. I have to switch off and on again. Okay, last variation is Allegro. I wrote a tempo of 88. Here's also mine. But let's just check the fingering now. You could write fingering. I wouldn't do it always here. It's rather obvious. One here, so you can do 2, 1, it's whatever you want. So here it just feels a little bit better on the clavichord. Strange. Maybe 1/4 will work better. This doesn't follow my hand. Also here, B to A, just 1 1. So you have. Don't do that because you have to again. Reposition your hand to go to the E. You can be 100% sure that this is authentic. Here I like just to jump and just start with the first finger. It gives you a nice accent. I'm not saying that I'm going to keep that, but just try. I think I like that. No 4th finger, actually no finger. So erase this. Try to erase this. Okay. And then he does something that I would, perhaps consider as well. So having the, so reposition your hand with the thumb only on the A instead of the G. It makes sense because you end here at 5, but then you have to indicate that because it's an exception. Otherwise, you will, if you not write a 4, you will put your thumb under your reposition your thumb. So how do you call it in English? We call it onderzetten in Dutch. That's fine. And then 1D, very high, pianissimo and tenuto. Okay, we do that. We hold the note, and then we wait 2 bars. Drink the coffee and then we start again. Now it's actually strange because you end here. 3. Poco less allegro. 1 here on the F sharp. So. This will work out great, I think, when we just practice that a little bit. It's a great how this pianissimo comes out, starts again with it in the middle voice. Actually, it's great. Fortissimo, fortissimo, piano. 1790. Liszt. Stringendo, and then we have a different notation. No, presto assai. So here allegro. So stringendo might be a little bit accelerando. The last page of these long variations series. I wouldn't do that, so 2 and 3. I prefer to jump back to the D, so instead of the, because it doesn't feel right to jump under here on the G. So okay. Calando, ciao. Hey, and that's adieu. The sonata, I mean. Here. Ciao, ciao, ciao. That's a great moment actually here. I didn't realize that. So this is I don't have this adieu here. It's only volume 1. Oh, we're not going to play in that D now. You hear it. The Adagio starts like that. No, I'm not going to do it. Don't be afraid of silence here. In conservatory, my teacher used to say, you have to play over it because nothing happens there. Oh yeah, there happens a lot. And now. Well, I'm really surprised with these variations. Perhaps I've said that to you when we started this, that the single length of these variations, I was a little bit hesitant to even take it into the program of the CD collection, I mean the CD production. But it's because Czerny wrote so explicitly about these variations that these were, if you play those, that it will make you see how astonishing Beethoven was at that time, how people were, I mean, how he would have been perceived by the Viennese public in 1791 or 2 or 3. When did he arrive in Vienna? 1792, I think, right? Anyway, so that's the reason why I say there's no escape for those variations to be implemented and to be part of that Beethoven project. And I've played some variations through, just paging through, and I say, okay, yeah, they're very long. And maybe not always his best, but actually it was a great lesson for me to learn that I should be very careful with that. These are really wonderful variations. It will probably, the recording of this piece will be 25 minutes, so one of his big variations, but it's worth, I think, every second of that. So I'm really happy that that we went through that so extensively. Next week, probably practicing those, because that's on my list. I have to get these variations in my fingers, and then we can record that for YouTube, and then it's in the preparation for the Beethoven journey. So this was a really long session, guys. Hope you didn't mind. If you're still here, thank you for being here. And if you would like to oh my god, I'm a little bit tired now. If you would like to attend more of these live streams or practicing sessions at the Friends, we do that live every Monday. Here it's pre-recorded, but as a premiere on YouTube, so you know it's stuff. Then hit also the bell icon. I still get remarks or comments from people or mails. I didn't get the notification for the live stream. You have to hit the bell icon. YouTube is not sending out notifications anymore. So if you just subscribe, just hit the bell. Okay, that was it for today. Thank you, patrons. Patrons always, because you make more possible than you think. And if you are not yet a patron, consider becoming one. We have an awesome community there and have monthly hangouts with each other. I share things on Patreon that is difficult or not, just the format is not fitting YouTube. So from time to time you see an email through Patreon pop up in your email box with something I'm working on or just found somewhere, and share that with you. That would be awesome if you just have 1 minute to check that page out. And for now, I'm going to drink a coffee, wait Juris to come because I expect a telephone call any minute, and see how our little brave dog is doing. And he behaved unbelievable. He is a wonderful dog. Okay guys, see you next time around.